You're listening to the Storm Report, your weekly insight into the Manchester Storm, brought to you on Storm TV by Matty Finnegan, Max Artis, and Aden Millen.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Storm Report, your exclusive podcast for the Manchester Storm. I'm your host Matthew Finnegan, joined by my co-host Max Artis, and also this week I'd like to welcome Aden to the podcast, your match night host. Aden, how are you doing today?
I'm all right, guys. How are we?
Yeah, pretty good. A crazy weekend, only one game to speak about, but I'm sure we're going to get into it.
Yeah, crazy game. I think there was a lot of optimism heading into it, but the result that we had and the drama that came with it, I mean, a game that with a rivalry like there is between Sheffield and Manchester was always going to produce some elements of drama, but the drama that we got and the spiciness with all the different goals, I mean, me and Max were up in the weather tower together, but what was it like from your perspective, Aden?
Fast. I mean, one thing that I get from my viewpoint is you don't get the best overview of the game because, especially when I'm shuffled off to one side as well, when everything's in towards the 109 side, I don't see quite as well. But you get an idea of the pace, especially that Sheffield team has lots of pace. And, it's very much a back and forth game, lots happening. It was a bit feisty. I've seen way more feisty games. There wasn't a lot of needle between the teams. Just the odd little thing I saw with Tyler in the second period. But it was highly entertaining, I will say that.
I think it definitely did get a little bit spicier, you could say, as things went on. I want to ask you about Tyler Heinem a little bit, because obviously the fight probably wasn't the longest one we've had so far this year at the Storm Shelter, but they dropped the gloves anyhow, and they ended up chirping each other as they went off to the bench. Did you get to hear any of that stuff from your location?
No, I didn't. Sometimes I do. It depends on how bad the chirping is. And sometimes when they get to the penalty boxes and you can hear them shouting at each other across the penalty boxes, but no, there was none of that. Once Tyler got in the box, it was more about the fact the EMT came over and asked if he needed anything, just asked for a bit of Vaseline for his nose. But no, there's no big drama, no big kickoffs.
I think going into the game, there was a storyline from a more Steelers perspective going into this one, Max, with Robert Dowd. He was chasing history, wasn't he?
He was indeed, and he's been. We thought he might do it last year. We thought he might get it done early this year, and luckily, it wasn't done in the Storm Shelter. That's saved for another day. And it could have been I think that would have catapulted Steelers into more of a victory, if I'm honest with you, if you got that point on the board. I think going back on record, I think when Robert Dowd scores in a game, I think Sheffield win a very high percentage of the time.
And he often does score in our building. We were all falling over each other to pick him for our ones to watch for the forecast. And happy to say the commentator's curse worked a treat.
It did indeed.
Didn't do much.
Yeah, no, he had a couple chances. I think the big chance that springs to mind for me, if you guys haven't seen the highlights yet when you're watching this, definitely do. It was a game you don't want to miss. But the breakaway chance that he was in all alone on Evan Menninger, and Evan just stopped it with. It made it look effortless, as he always does, but there was the opportunity to really go and make history. He was all alone. What a moment it would have been, but what a moment it turned out to be, Max, for Manchester.
And just the way that we saw Evan Menninger get back to how we've seen him play in last season. He looked calm. Yes, there was a handful of goals against, but he got the offense to combat that and looked fantastic in the shootout as well.
Now, I think what makes these games between Manchester and Sheffield so special is the natural rivalry. Obviously, we're one of the closer teams geographically, like you have with your Fifes and your Dundees in the league. But I think rivalries definitely make sport more interesting, but it has to be done in the right way, Aden.
Absolutely. I mean, going back to when I first started watching hockey when I was like 12, obviously, that was Storm's first season of existence, and they're in British Division 1. Well, then when they got into that Super League the next year, the fixture that everybody wanted to see was us taking on the Sheffield Steelers. So I think at the time, Sheffield were the only other team with an arena. So that naturally made us rivals, in addition to the fact that we're only an hour down the road from each other. I mean, I liken it from a Manchester point of view. It's United-Liverpool in ice hockey terms for me. As a United fan, you never want to see Liverpool win. And as a Storm fan, I never want to see the Steelers win. That's probably why I get on so well with Panthers fans, because we've got that one in common. But yeah, I mean, going back over the years, I've been to the Sheffield Arena. I've seen some grim sights, had some really heavy defeats. That for me, that rivalry runs pretty deep, and I have as much reason to. I don't say dislike, probably the wrong word, because at the end of the day, it's an entity. You don't want to see that team win. You want to see your team beat them more than any others. But at the end of the day, it's on the ice. I've got no malice towards anybody who works in the Steelers organization, the fans or anything. I just want to see my team do well on the ice. And going into the rivalry, I do notice in the arena there is a slightly different atmosphere when Sheffield's in the building. It's obviously great. We tend to get more people in the building for a Sheffield game. We generally sell them out, and it's fantastic. Sheffield always bring a decent amount of fans over, which is also great. Always helps with the atmosphere. But there was a bit more needle in the air. Generally our fans tend to be we cheer our own team. You might boo the opposition if they do something that annoys them. But when it comes to Sheffield, the boos are out pretty early. And, you can really tell there's that needle to it. But I just wanted to talk about something I read on the Storm Forum on Facebook this week. There's been a couple of concerning reports. I mean, for me especially, because as the match night host, the atmosphere is very much my baby. I always try to foster an atmosphere of being welcoming to everybody, regardless of what team you're supporting. I want the away fans to come in and have a good time with us. I want the home fans to be welcoming to the away fans, vice versa. I ultimately want the home team to win the game. I want our fans to go away happiest, but I don't want the away fans going away thinking that was a terrible experience and I never want to step foot in that building again. And the first thing I read that kind of concerned me was Storm fans who had witnessed behaviour from fellow Storm fans towards the Sheffield players, the Sheffield bench and Sheffield supporters. And it's just that is a concern for me. And I just wanted to say to people, if you're listening to this and you're one of those people, you love booing the opposition. I'm not going to say don't boo the opposition. I want it to be the right side of pantomime. We don't like them, we boo them. You can chirp the players. These guys are paid to be on that ice, to wear that jersey. For them, that's par for the course. But think about it when it's fan to fan. There's a very thin line for a lot of people between what's banter and what's potentially abusive. And then we saw there was a post from somebody from Sheffield who said she won't bring her kids to the Storm shelter to watch an away game. And that really concerns me. I did not realise anything could get so bad in our place that someone would feel like that. And I'm sure the vast majority of Storm fans listening to this would be shocked at that as well, because I'm sure none of us would have any idea that could be the case. Someone could feel like that. So with that in mind, for anybody who might be involved in the banter between the two sets of supporters, just please think about how it could be interpreted. Like, if you do it in the stands and everybody's there on mat, it's one thing. If you do it in the toilets, in the street, outside the rink, just think about where that line might be. And what impact it might have on those people, because some people might be more sensitive than others, because we really do want the Storm shelter to be that welcoming place for everybody.
Yeah, I'm going to try and breathe an air of lightheartedness into that by saying that we play in a nice arena that we call the Storm Shelter, which means it's supposed to be a safe place. And it should be a safe place for everybody. So I think being able to come down to a hockey arena and to watch a game, we're all hockey fans. We should all be able to go and enjoy ourselves and then enjoy a great game of hockey. And I think you put that really well, Aden. And I'm just going to see if that segues nicely into a great game of hockey that we were witness to. I lost my voice on the commentary when the shootout was going ahead, and I think Max had to help me out a little bit with the end there. Max, what was going through your head?
System, so you at least still had the ability to talk.
Yeah, at least people could still hear us if we had the capacity to speak. I had to sit down for a good 5 minutes before going off and doing post-game interviews, just because the energy that it took to keep up with the play on the ice and the emotion in the arena and everything. Just overwhelming come the end of it. It was everything you wanted from a game and more. There was drama, there was back and forth, there was crazy bounces that we spoke about earlier, and just if you wanted to show someone the product of hockey, I think that is the game that you probably would have wanted to take them to. And luckily for that night, for Storm and for those on social media and the wider world, it got documented by a fantastic YouTuber in Robert Greeley. And his video, if you haven't seen it yet, Not only does it make it look like we know what we're talking about on the forecast in his little clips that he's put on, he's made us look absolutely fantastic there, gents. I don't know how he's done it. But yeah, the drama that he shows in that video is awesome, and a credit to him and his team.
He's definitely talented at what he does, and I'm sure he'll be back at some point, and we'll be welcoming him back for sure. But yeah, like you say, a game in isolation, I think it's a perfect advertisement for hockey, and I think it'd be really brilliant to get a perspective of what it's like to actually be on the ice. Because Aden, you get down close to the ice, but to actually be on the ice and be involved in the game, I'd love to get a player's perspective on that drama. And lucky for you guys listening at home, we have that this weekend. We have Joe Morrow on the pod after this ad break.
Do you have a business that you want to promote to thousands of people per week? Well, the Storm Report could be the podcast for you. Get in touch and find out how you can sponsor segments, interviews, or even the whole show. Get involved with Manchester's elite ice hockey team by contacting Mark at manchesterstorm.com. That's MARK at manchesterstorm.com. Get involved.
Joe, the fans were super happy after the weekend's result against Sheffield. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling great. I think that the building definitely helped us out in that one. I could feel the energy personally being on the ice and having that many people there, and I know it's a super fun rivalry. So whenever we bring our best game and Sheffield comes to town, it's really exciting. So I definitely can give a lot of props to the fan base and to the crowd in the building that night. That helped us keep going in that game for sure.
Yeah, it's always telling when I've got a noise cancelling headset on doing the commentary and I can still hear the fans. It's always nice to hear the support. I wanted to kind of get into like I don't want to say nerves because I'd assume that there aren't many, but what was the confidence like going into a game against Sheffield?
I think once you get Sheffield earlier in the year, I know that in the preseason and the exhibition games, we didn't get their full lineup, but we got to kind of see how they were going to play this year. And obviously them being in the Champions League brings a large aura around to their team of success. And I do know that playing on very successful teams in the past, I do know that the opposing team is always very excited to get into those games. And Sheffield has always been a team that brings their best, very talented players, very good coaching. They're always upper echelon. So us being a team that, even last year doubted a little bit, this year again doubted a little bit. It's always really fun to see guys and how they react to those situations. So coming into that, it's nothing but excitement. We're obviously not the team from a betting standpoint that's a favorite to expect to win. So coming into that, it's a free range to just put your best effort out there. Like I said, kind of feed off of the crowd, enjoy the moment, enjoy those games like that, and just consistently put your best foot forward. So I think that's just what our team did. It was very exciting for us for sure.
And speaking about going into the game, Joe, I noticed we saw the video documentary that Robert Greeley did while he was over, and he had access to the dressing room filming the post game, and we could see what Flags was saying to the guys afterwards, and saying about how you guys have got to trust the process, and that's going to get you far this season. Now, tell us a bit more about that process. What is it that you guys are going out there to do every night?
So I think the process that he instills in us all the time is that he says it a lot. He says there's a right way, there's a wrong way, and then there's our way to do things. Meaning that one of his philosophies is that the way that we choose to do things as a hockey team may not always be right. It may not always be wrong. It's just a unique style of doing things. So as long as everybody can buy into the same protocol as a team, I find that really important. It doesn't matter if 2 people out of 30 people think that you're doing something wrong. That's not the worst thing in the world, because the other 28 people will eventually turn that into, it's okay. Everybody else is doing it this way. As long as we're doing it together, it will bring us success. And I think that's kind of the process that he has instilled, is that if everybody is on the same page, if everybody supports each other, and I know it's very cliche to say, but it is a team aspect. And as long as the person next to you has your back, is supporting you, is positive, is giving their best effort, that's kind of the message that I think this coach this year has very positively enforced, and it has been a really good process for us because that's how everybody feels, knowing that somebody beside you is going to continuously give their best effort and always on the same kind of railroad track of success. So that's kind of the gist of what he says, is that, we're a team, we're a family, we're going to do everything together, and as long as you trust that and trust the process of just sticking to those guidelines of everybody being on the same page, whether that be right or wrong, that's essentially what he instills in everybody.
I think I've definitely seen an increase in resilience throughout the entire team. Although resilience can be tested. And I think if we want to talk about the game against Sheffield now, we'll move to about 10 minutes in. I think you guys started really strong, which is something that Flags has recently been saying he wants you guys to do. But then talk me through what it was like on the bench when you see that crazy deflection spring out in front and kind of gift Sheffield a first goal. What was going through your mind?
Yeah, it's a perfect word you got to describe it. Resilience is a super key word there. I think that everybody who's played here for a couple of years or has seen the building that we play in and seen the odd bounces from time to time. It happens in any building, globally. I've seen bounces like that. You see them on highlight reels all the time. But I think it's very good for our team to understand, and it was awesome for me to see personally as a player that likes to have somewhat of a leadership role in helping guys just understand the concepts of hockey and the game and how it happens emotionally. But to see something shoot off the wall like that, come straight in front of the net, and you're down 1-0 against a very good hockey team when you did have the momentum and things were trending in your direction, it was a bit of a moment where it was just like, and then like awkward silence. But honestly, the next 2-3 shifts, it was awesome to see guys just continue on the exact same path. It was like everybody understood. It was like I kind of described before. Everybody looked at each other and was like, honestly, we're playing great. There's nothing we could have done about that. It happens. It's a sport. Bounces happen. Puck's not perfect. Everything's not perfect. So after that, I think that was a very, very good telling tale of how this team has been and will continue to be in that resilience factor. It's just, for lack of better words, it was just like and then just, beep out the word after moment and carry on with the game. But I agree. We did come out strong, and that, just happens.
There were quite a few moments potentially in that Sheffield game where you might have had a bit of a and then bleep if you want to.
Yeah.
But in those moments, as you say, being one of the leaders in the dressing room, do you feel a certain responsibility on yourself to kind of maybe help the younger players through?
I would say that I kind of take on the role of what I catered to looking for when I was playing back in North America, and it was just kind of a lead by example mentality. So if I was out there the next shift or, right after something like that happens, I would make sure that everybody on the ice with me knew that this was the most important shift up to this point. You have to get back out there. You have to show that you weren't affected by it, get right back on track, have all the effort come through and make sure that your execution's really good. And I think that then brings confidence back to the team, saying that like, it clearly didn't bother these guys. It shouldn't bother us. We're next up. We're going out there doing the exact same thing. So that's kind of the mentality that I've always enjoyed bringing, was if you show that it affects you, it will affect others around you. So I think you just keep it straight and narrow, and stuff like that happens. You just line up at center and hopefully win the draw, and you just get right back on offense, create some scoring chances. Crowd gets excited again. Also, the crowd played a huge part in that. They weren't down. They were still cheering. I think they understood that it was like a good first period. It was good. It was exciting. Stuff like that happens. And they were just right still on our side. They weren't down at all. They were just, loud and rambunctious and always really good. So that was great.
So we got boosted this week by getting a couple of extra D-men back in the lineup. How much of a difference does that make? I mean, obviously last week you were playing with 4 full-time D, and obviously Noah Kariainen came in as a 5th. But how much difference did it make this week to have the full D step back again?
Yeah. Coming into last weekend, playing with 4 five defensemen like that with a young kid coming in. He played great. He was awesome, and that was a huge help. If you're really with four, I think that one game, the first game on Friday, I think I was, I don't know, 37 or 38 minutes. Like it's a long game, and it definitely plays a toll on your body. So once you get that 6 rotation back, and you get those guys like Dal and Chase and people that just obviously know how to bring that calmness back to the lineup, it makes a huge difference, because then your quality of play can then start to escalate, because you're not thinking about, oh man, I have to, I still got 2 periods left in this game. I still got 24 minutes to play. Like, things like that creep into your mind, whether you have 6 back there. It just brings a lot of confidence in yourself, being like, I got tons of energy. I can just give my all every shift. And I got, an extra 2 defensemen there to back me up if I do need a break. So that brings a huge morale boost to the team for sure.
Yeah, there were a number of players that returned into the lineup for the game against Sheffield. I think one of the ones on the forward group as well, Lauren Yulette, came back with a bit of a bang, as you'd probably expect from him. But I think producing 2 points on the night, I think he was one of the people that really showed how game you guys were and how ready you were to kind of bring the fight to Sheffield.
Definitely, yeah. Guys like that too, coming into the lineup. Also, that physicality plays a great role. Everybody obviously loves tough, loves physical. You got a bunch of guys on a team, big, high testosterone boosted dudes that just want to have fun and want to see everybody succeed. So you get a guy like Yuli back. You see him squish somebody into the boards, and you see him skating all over the place, and he's got great speed. He's got a great shot. So guys like that, guys like Chase and Dal and everybody that came back in the lineup just brings that full team composure back in there, where you have a full lineup, and yeah, you just again bring that confidence back to everybody else around them. So that was a huge piece. So I'm glad we had a full team to be able to take on that squad on Saturday.
Just a little word about the players that had to step up in the absence of certain players. I want to highlight, obviously, he got Player of the Month, but Jake Derflinger, how well he started. We're about just over a month into the season, but he's like leading point scorer for the Manchester Storm. He might still be the leading point scorer in the league tally at the moment. He started so well, and he doesn't show any signs of stopping.
Yeah, no, he's one of those players that's very unique in my eyes. Maybe not the biggest guy. I'm trying to think of player comparison right now that I've played with. Like, I would say honestly, a great comparison is like a Brad Marchand. He's tough, he's gritty, he's fast, he's skilled. He does everything. He does everything super well. There's no bad to his game. He's a great guy to have in the locker room. He's a great guy to do whatever you want with, outside of hockey. So I think that his start is definitely, it's not, I don't know what word I'm looking for. It's not a fluke, it's not by chance. It's definitely just, that's him, that's him. That's his skill set. That's what he brings to the team. That's, what I can respect out of the guy is that he just always plays hard. He'll never back down from anybody. He's always in there. He's poking guys, he's hitting guys, he's playing physical, and he's scoring a lot. So that's a huge piece to our team, and I think guys lean on that, and guys get a lot of momentum from watching him play also. So yeah, I'll do everything in my power to just continue his success streak here. I'll keep giving him the puck as much as I can, but he has had a great start, and I don't think that's I don't think that's anything out of the ordinary. I think that's just the player that he is.
Fans are definitely used to seeing when Jake Derflinger gets the puck on his stick, good things happen. I think they're pretty used to that by now. I just want to go back and talk about the Sheffield game, and more so towards the end, because this game between 2 rivals, there was always going to be drama. But I think it was definitely a game for the neutrals when it goes to overtime, and I think Heber scores on the second attempt. It goes to a review, and then I think you're one of the first people, if I'm not mistaken, that found out that it was being overturned. I think Critch might have spoilt the surprise for you. But what was that like for yourself and the team?
Again, I think that's a huge testament to the fan base also. It's obviously, it's such a hard fought game, and the emotion's super high when you score in overtime. Everybody charges down the ice, celebrates. It's awesome. It's good. And then you get that awkward pause in time where you get the review, and then it is kind of like it's a buzzkill when you get that review and it comes back, it's negative, and there's still, I don't know how much time left there was, maybe 3 minutes, whatever it was, but there's still a little bit of time left. So you kind of just have to you have to just rely on the crowd to just continue cheering for you, rely on the crowd to get up and say that's okay, and for the team especially too. You get back out there in the next shift and just keep skating, creating opportunities, and that's exactly what everybody did. But you're 100% right. There's always going to be drama. There's always going to be some sort of something that happens in this league and against teams that are fighting against each other like that. So I think, again, just a huge thank you to the fans and the Storm Shelter there for just maintaining that buzz and maintaining that great atmosphere that just, next puck drop, everybody was ready to go again. And there's just a little extra hockey for everybody.
I think it speaks to the mental strength of the team this year. And we could have had a significant buzzkill, like you say, but then almost immediately after some pretty big saves from Wenninger, if you want to speak on that, but all of a sudden chocolate's raining down and you guys are taking your parade lap. And talk me through the feeling afterwards. What did you say to Winnie?
Yeah, that shootout, once it gets to that point, it's you just rely on, it's a lot of pressure for goaltenders in shootouts. You get your opportunity to go as a player, you score, you don't score, you come close. It's, that's just is kind of like a toss up, but the goalie has to face everybody individually. So that's a lot of pressure. And I know when he takes on a lot of pressure during the year, and he does so well with it. There's a lot that falls on his shoulders, a lot of games. If the team's not playing that great, he always is. He's probably the most consistent goaltender that I've seen in a very, very long time, where he's just, it's almost like brainless for me to think that, if I make a mistake, he's there. It's kind of crazy, but the consistency of his game is awesome. After the game, I just, he was so excited, and I love seeing him excited. He just gets so jacked up, and he's pumped, and he's celebrating, and everybody's coming in. So I know that everybody loves beating that team, but especially as a goaltender, once you play a really good game like that, you get to celebrate with the boys afterwards. I just know that it's just like is that you can say anything to him and he'll be happy. So I was just telling him that was a great game. I told him it's crazy how consistent he is in shootouts, and you see it in practice all the time, but he comes up in those big moments. So the feeling afterwards, it's always just, I feel like it's always less painful after the game. After every game, I'm getting a little bit older. Everything kind of hurts and creaks and cranks, and my joints are falling apart. But after a win like that, it just kind of, it's like I don't know, it's like happiness kind of lubricates all the joints to be able to work enough to go out and have a drink with all your buddies and stuff. So you get that victory lap and everybody's cheering for you. The chocolate's coming down, like you said. It's such a unique experience. It's great. And we'll just keep doing it as much as we can.
Speaking of penalty shots, I've noticed we've had a couple in the last couple of weeks, and both times you've gone out at number 5 for the Storm. Is that something you volunteered to do, or is that something that Flags has asked you to do?
I think he just kind of picks. I always leave it up to the coach. I don't have any say in it. I'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all the way up to 18 or however many guys are on the ice. I'm happy to be there. I'm happy to contribute. But I'm just like, I'm inches away right now. The first one was an incredible save. I don't know if I could have hit that goalie's stick 400 times in a row. If I tried, I don't think I would hit the little piece of stick he had on the ice there. So, and then the second time around, had a chance to win it and hit the crossbar, and it goes up into the stands. So I think it's a easy spot for me to be in. I've been in some pretty cool scenarios with a lot of people watching. So I don't think my heart rate gets a little elevated as much as the next guy. And I definitely know I think Flags just does a good job of reading momentum of a game, and whoever's doing well that game or whoever he has confidence in, he'll just put out there. But yeah, I know on Friday or Thursdays, I guess, the day before games, we always do have a little shootout competition in practice at the end there, and you get to see what guys can do what. So he might go off of that too, but I think it's a question I'd love to hear his answer to, for sure.
Yeah, that's definitely a question we'll have to ask at some point. Does the Juice Boy shootout have any sort of impact on the rankings if it goes to that in a game? I wanted to ask you, Joe, if you pay any sort of attention to certain statistics about yourself. Like if I asked you how many games you played with the Manchester Storm, would you know the answer to that?
No, I have absolutely no idea.
Luckily for you, I do crazy amounts of research, but one of the most interesting things that I found for this discussion was that if you play both games this weekend, that's of course home at Glasgow and then away to Cardiff, the Cardiff game will be your 70th game in like blue and purple.
Yeah.
70th game for number 70, and I just thought that's a pretty good summative mark, and I wanted to ask you overall what you found with your time in Manchester so far.
Oh, that's a question that I could probably talk for hours about. I have so many opinions in Manchester. They're all good. Surprisingly, I do have some pretty negative hot takes on some places that I've been and situations I've been in. But I think the biggest key to that question is I wouldn't be sitting here and I wouldn't be on this hockey team if I didn't thoroughly enjoy myself the previous year. I guess my opinion or my just cliff notes of everything that I've gone through since I've been here it's just been all positive. Anything to do with the fan skates after the game, to the events that we do, to, seeing people in the crowd, seeing people out in Altrincham, the occasional person, if I'm in Manchester somewhere, somebody that stops you, that you're in such a market that, ice hockey would be almost at the bottom tier of it. And hopefully we can do a good job of bringing that up and continuing to grow the awareness and the popularity of the sport. But any single person that has stopped me or wanted to say hi or has asked for an autograph or a picture with a kid, they're all genuinely kind. They're all genuinely interested in you as a person, not just you as, an object as a hockey player. And that goes, light years above what you kind of experience as a hockey player when you're growing up or when you're getting to the next level. I think that the city has so much to offer. I think that every little village and town in the area is always really fun to explore. Only negative for me, and I tell everybody this, the only negative is the rain. I'm sure that's the same with everybody. But the way that the franchise is run through Ryan and Emma and everybody, from you guys to anybody else that's involved with the Storm, it's so heartwarming to come into an atmosphere that's feels like a home, feels like a family. So every time you do anything, it's really positive. And that's a huge component of what I was missing in my life when I would play in other places. So I come back here and I'm always having fun. I'm always happy. I'm happy to do anything that supports the Storm. And the hockey's been fun and it's been great. And the guys on the team, again, it's a topic that I could literally talk about for an hour, but I guess the cliff notes are the people are incredible, kind of cliche. The town is really fun. It's growing. Restaurants, food industry is awesome. The little pubs. Obviously it's a massive sports hub, with the football, cricket, rugby, hopefully soon to be hockey. It's just little things like that just make living here really exciting. There's always something to do. Luckily for me, I got here pretty early, so I've got to play quite a few golf courses in the area. Also a huge plus. So it's just, it's a great region to live in. It's a great community to be a part of and a country to be a part of as a whole. For however long I last here, I will forever be grateful for my experience in Manchester, for sure.
Well, I get the privilege of working with this team in a different capacity, but at heart, I'm a fan. And I think in this instance, I can speak for all fans when I say that we're really glad to have you on the team. I think you've been great in all 68 games so far, and you've also been great today on the pod. So thanks for coming on, Joe.
All right. Anytime. Hopefully we can do this more in the future, but thank you.
Thank you very
Absolutely.
much.
The Storm Report podcast is proud to announce the Bowl with the Storm is back for 2024. The fan favourite event is headed to Atlantic Bowl in Altrincham on the 27th of November, and from 7 till 9 p.m, you can go bowling with your favourite Storm players. There are 10 lanes available to book, and you can even reserve a player to play in your lane for just £15. But hurry, because it's a first come, first served basis, and these things sell out fast. Prices and booking can be found on the Storm Support app now, so don't miss your chance to bowl with the Storm.
Right, next on the agenda, fellas, is Glasgow, a team we are yet to play so far this season. We welcome them to the Storm Shelter on Friday. Aden, what do we already know about Glasgow?
Well, what we already know about Glasgow is Corey Nielsen and a few of his former charges over there in Glasgow. It's interesting the clan's pattern over the last few years has very closely resembled that of the Nottingham Panthers, and they're constantly getting new coaches in year after year, especially after Pete Russell came, of course. Where it's not quite worked out, they've gone for a new guy. But this year, they've gone for somebody who knows the league, similar to what the Panthers themselves have done by getting Danny Stewart in. And seeing the players that they've got there, they've got his longtime ally, Robert Lakovic. He's got his own son and Cade Nielsen. He's got Joe Hazeldine, who's obviously formerly of the Storm. So I'd be interested to see how closely a Corey Nielsen clan team resembles a Nielsen Panthers team.
Definitely so. So far in the league, because it is a league game, so we'll just talk about like league standings and statistics. They played 4 games thus far, winning just the one of them, so they've got 2 points. That's good enough for 8th. And they are yet to go to overtime, very much unlike the Storm, Max.
Yeah, Storm have been playing a bit of extra hockey most nights. I think Mike Flanagan would kind of care to get the job done in regulation. Instead of handing out a couple of free points to teams, especially in the league. But where the Glasgow Clan have been shining at the moment is in the Challenge Cup. And a little bit more context to this game coming up on the weekend is due to the new format that the league has put out for the Challenge Cup. That playing game, as it stands right now, will be between the Storm and the Glasgow Clan.
I think it's an intriguing bout because we don't know what to expect from them, and that's what's going to be so interesting come game day on Friday. But just to give a bit of maybe a teaser, how are you guys thinking that game's going to go on Friday? Start with you, Aden.
It's always difficult when it's a team that you haven't yet seen that season, because I always say, especially when I'm looking at recruitment that happens over the summer, you can never judge a team until you see them on the ice. Because stats tell you one thing, and then what you see on the ice probably could be completely different. Guys who have got big expectations, ex-NHL careers, don't look that great. Guys who've just done a couple of years in the ECHL can blow you away. Like, it can be that crazy. What I will say is you kind of know what you're going to get from a Nielsen team to an extent. In terms of he always expects his team to work hard, for example. You're not necessarily going to see the slickest hockey you've ever seen, but you're going to be in for a game. They generally have strong net mind in the clan. They often struggle when they come to Manchester, but again, it's like every year there's new players, but the common theme tends to be that they don't necessarily do so well in our building. But it'd be fun to see.
It will indeed. After going on a 4-game slide early in the season, 4 losses back-to-back, got 1 win against Fife, and then since then have only lost 2 games, one against Cardiff and one against Belfast. One against Belfast went to penalties in the Challenge Cup, 4-3 win for the Northern Irish side. They have experience of the league. That thing we can be sure of, not only in Corey Nielsen, but Simone Dupre played for the Panthers last year. Robert Lakovic, we know, has a long history with the league, and also another former Nottingham Panther in Felix Pare played last season for the Panthers. So experience in this league up and down the lineup.
They'll have experience in the league, which means they'll probably have experience in the building and will be looking to, I guess, right the wrongs that they might have had previously if their record in the Storm Shelter is as poor as you suggest, Aden. I hope that they don't, obviously. But that's not the only game that we have this weekend, because last weekend was much more of an abnormality. We're returning to form, a home game and an away game this week. The away game in Cardiff. Max, we already have some history with Cardiff, don't we, this season?
Oh, we do indeed. I think that's a bubbling rivalry just under the surface, ready to erupt into a little bit more, not only with suspensions and physical play, but scorelines being tight between the two teams as well.
Aden, with Joe Morrow, as we mentioned earlier, potentially playing his 70th game against Cardiff, how many points do you reckon we can take from the weekend?
Love to say 4. I mean, our record on our previous trip to Cardiff certainly suggests 4 is doable, which, I mean, that result away in Cardiff was fantastic. When you consider the fact that just a week before, Cardiff rolled into the Storm Shelter and played us off the ice, you know, and for the boys to rebound from that so strongly, and the fact that, you know, they had a big lead in that game. It's not like we had won by 1 goal and it was back and forth all the way through. We just had to survive a hell of a Cardiff comeback. And that really shows you the skill and the tenacity and the mental strength that exists in our lineup. So I would love to say 4 points again.
I would definitely love to see that as well. The final question that I had for you guys on this episode of the Storm Report is how big of a deal having already played games or being on the second half of a back-to-back might be for our fixtures. We play a Glasgow team that would have already played by the time this game goes out. They play the midweek fixture. And then we travel to Cardiff, who will be playing their first game, and they'll have a game the day afterwards. But we'll be on the second half of a back-to-back for that game. Aden, how do you see that going?
It's interesting, isn't it? We often hear that as a team, you want to play your home game first. If you're doing a back-to-back, you want your home game first because then you're only travelling once to play again.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas because you're not having that back-to-back. If you play your away game first, you're doing 2 trips before you play that second game. So I think that's definitely an advantage for us going into Friday. Doesn't hurt us at all as well going Saturday because, again, that's only our first lot of travel. So I would hope that the legs are still relatively fresh for both games.
Yeah, and just piggybacking off of that, as well, if you can have a great game on Friday, you can carry that momentum into a team that has yet to play on a Saturday night. So if Storm play well on the Friday, I expect them to play just as well on the Saturday night against a rested and ready Cardiff.
I would expect them to play well if the Sheffield game is anything to go by. Fellas, thank you for your time. Thank you for joining. And to the listeners at home, thank you for giving us your time. We have been the Storm Report. I've been Matty. They've been Max and Aden. Thank you very much for listening and enjoy your weekend.
That was the Storm Report, brought to you by Storm TV. Tune in next week for more exclusive insights. Tickets on sale now at manchesterstorm.com.